beautiful people. Let's let the Discord chat know that we are live. First and foremost, drop a few notifications in there for all of those peeps. Get the comments pulled up on my end. Let's see who's going to get first in chat today. Let's see who's going to get first in chat today. I used to not be interested in that, but you guys got me interested in that. Everyone's always rushing to get first, so we'll see. We'll see. Get that pulled up. Let's see. Get that turned on. I always forget about that little thing. AC is first today. What's up, AC? Welcome. How are you doing? What's up, PJ? Welcome, welcome, guys. Welcome. We're testing out this whole little starting the stream later on in the day thing. We're gonna test that out and see how that goes. What's up, Harry? Welcome to the stream. How you doing? Welcome, dude. Welcome. I don't know. We did this the other day, and it was a pretty full chat. So, what time is it? What time is it where you guys are from right now? What's up, Max? Welcome, dude. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Almost always. Almost always. There you go. There you go. And gratitude. Thank you. Thank you. Much love to you. Thank you. Thank you. What do you guys think about that little short that I uploaded? I seen the little short feature and I was like, well, this could be interesting. This could be interesting. I don't know how many of you in here right now caught that little short, but what do you guys think about that? I was curious. Is that something that you guys would like to see more of? 3:55. PJ and me in the same time zone over here, almost 6 p.m. in North Carolina. Okay, okay. 9:56 a.m. All right, all right. I'm trying to find that good time where like it just works for everybody, but that's like not possible. That is not always possible when you're dealing with time zones. Not always possible when we've got people from all over the place. Craig, you like the short? Okay, okay. Yeah, I mean YouTube Shorts is basically the same as TikToks. I'm assuming that that's what YouTube is trying to go for on that. They're trying to go for something like TikTok. Would be good for little reminders. Literally come into your mind 100 miles per hour, and you think they're important because they're trigger you. How do you deal with not following thoughts? Kay, you have been here for a long time. Have you not been listening? Have you not been listening? You take a step back. You take a step back and you refuse to get involved with the story. You become aware of the story. You give yourself a nice little accepting reminder and you avoid that temptation. You don't give in to that temptation to add to the story. Now, you already know this. I know that you already know this. But you got to get going. You got to get started. That's what's important. That's what's important. What's good, Tony? Short clip is perfect because it gives you that quick reminder to get on with your day without the BS. Probably help when people have those rough stretches. Quick reminder and get your ass up. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, sometimes it's very tempting, Kay. Sometimes it's very tempting. It's very tempting. But we're going to be talking about exactly that today. We're going to be talking about exactly that. Dropping the mental story about your recovery. Dropping the mental story about your recovery, aka not getting involved in the mental story about your recovery. But this could also apply to pretty much anything. This could also apply to pretty much anything, whether we're talking about mental stories about your thoughts, feelings, life. We talked about that a little bit in that short that I made today. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper with that. Hello, Water Bro. Hello, Pootie. How you doing? The shorts are great for small reminders since watching 5 streams takes too much time. Yeah, so I figured, we would just jump on board with the whole shorts thing. It's becoming more and more popular. I figured why not? People might actually enjoy the little shorts. So what's up, Amanda? What's up, Michael? Hey, everyone. Question: just in the hospital, got diagnosed, having a hard time. We're going to talk about all of this. We're going to jump into all of this. So I know the title of the stream says dropping the mental story about your recovery, but this is going to apply to everything. This is going to apply to everything. Dropping the mental story about your recovery, or you could say not adding to the mental story about your recovery, or like I said, your life, your feelings, your thoughts, your life situation. Right? We're going to talk about how this mental story that you are partaking in and contributing to and gassing up, whatever you want to call it, is really, really just it's causing you to suffer unnecessarily. We're going to talk about that. I think that might be possible, AC. I'll look into that. So it's not so much of why can't my mind bring me other thoughts, right? It's I do not want to get involved in what's going on up there. There's got to be a distance, right? There's got to be a distance. There's got to be a distance between you and what's going on upstairs, and that's exactly what we're going to be talking about. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get this started. Dropping the mental story about your recovery. I should have added a few things there. I should have added your life, your feelings, your blah blah blah. I should have added all that, but I think you guys pretty much know already if you've been here for a while what we're kind of getting at. What we're kind of getting at. You've got to drop the mental story and not get involved in that mental story. So you have these thoughts, you have these feelings. Let's give an example here. You have these feelings, like Craig said in the chat earlier. I'm going to use Craig's comment as an example. He says, I need a new brain. I think mine is broke. Congrats. You're officially getting involved in the mental story, and now you're going to suffer unnecessarily. So here's the problem. Here's the big problem. Here's the big shindu. Here's the reason you keep running around in circles and just basically falling victim to this unnecessary anxiety and this unnecessary suffering. It's because you have these stories going on in your head, right? And you contribute to them. You contribute 90% of your energy to them. You get involved with them. You get up there and instead of putting in the work, instead of putting in the effort to say, okay, there's that story, right? And there's that thought. When we say story, we just, we mean thought or whatever you want to call it, story, thought. There's that thought, there's that story, right? And you take that step back, you become the awareness. Okay, my mind's trying to suck me in and tell me this. My mind's trying to suck me in and go in this direction. Or I'm trying to replay the same bullshit I replay every day on repeat, where I'm worried about my feelings, I'm worried about my thoughts, I'm worried about my future, I'm worried about this anxiety. Oh, my brain's broken, I need a new brain. This is so horrible, I wish I could get out of this. Oh, what am I going to do about this and this? You got all these mental stories that you are contributing to, right, up in your head. Now, they can start with a thought, right? It can start with just a random thought pops up. For example, random thought pops up, oh, how's your anxiety going to be today, right? Random thought pops up, and then you start writing and contributing to all these mental stories, all these mental BS stories. You're running around in a hamster wheel, right? You're running around in a hamster wheel. You're continuously beating your nerves to death, and then you're wondering why your nerves are acting the way that they're acting. So a lot of this comes down, and this isn't just about anxiety. This is life in general, right? Let's say, let's give a life example. Let's say, for example, I get some bad news. I get some bad news today. Now, it's obvious that out of habit, maybe I'm going to sit around for a bit, and I'm gonna have this on my mind. I'm going to be thinking about this for a bit. But if I'm doing this for the rest of the day, and then tomorrow, and the day after, and the day after, I'm suffering unnecessarily, right? So this mental story that I keep contributing to, when I'm supposed to be the awareness and I'm supposed to call the story out while it's happening. Oh, there I go again. I'm contributing to that mental story, right? Or, oh, there's that thought that's trying to pull me into writing a mental story, right? So really there's only two ways. It's either, oh, there's that thought. I caught that early before I even got up there and contributed to the story. Or, oh, I've been doing it for the past 15 minutes. I've been up there thinking, contributing to this mental story, right? So you can either get ahead of it, or maybe you get lost in it a little bit, but then you can pull yourself back and say, oh, I'm doing it again. I'm contributing to this mental story, okay? Or, like I said, you can even get ahead of it. Oh, there's that thought. I'm not going to get up there with a mental story about it, right? So it's this mental story that you keep adding to. You wake up every day and you get these thoughts and you get these feelings, and boom, it's almost automatic. You shoot right up into the thinking part of the mind and you start adding to this mental story. And before you know it, at the end of the day, you've done wrote a fucking novel. right? You've done wrote a fucking novel about how bad you feel, about what you can do about this thought, and what if this happens, and what might happen if this happens, and how my brain is so broken, and how I can't do this. And before you know it, at the end of the day, you've done sat down and you've wrote a fucking novel, right? And then you wonder, and then here's the kicker, and then you turn around and then you wonder why you keep beating your nerves to death with a fucking club. You know, why the hell is my nerves so tore up, Wonder Bro? I don't understand why my nerves are so tore up. But you just finished writing a Stephen King novel all day, right? And you've been doing it since the moment you woke up. You've been doing it since the moment you woke up. You've been contributing to this mental story. Now I know some people are probably thinking, well, okay, but these are real problems. I've got all these symptoms, and I've got this bad news going on, and these are real problems, Wonder Bro. Okay, well, I understand they're real problems. You've got two choices here. You can take action against these real problems, okay? And as far as symptoms and thoughts are concerned, there's no action you can take. Acceptance, right? Or if you've got some real life problem, you can take action there. But if there's no action to take, or if you've already taken all the action that you possibly can, then that's all you can do, right? That's all you can do. Now, if you sit around at that point and write these novels in your head over and over, and you keep getting involved with these thoughts instead of calling them out, oh, there's that thought, okay, thanks for coming, right? Instead of getting involved in the contributing to the novel, right? Instead of getting involved, instead of resisting and fighting and arguing and debating and dragging it on and on, you got to put in the work to call it out. So there's only really two things that you could do in life, even if we're talking about real life situations. You can either take action, which you either do or you don't, right? And then at that point, you've got to drop all the mental stories. There's no more getting involved with these thoughts that try to pull you in and get you to write a story. You can say, "Oh, there's that story that's trying to get me to contribute to that story," right? I'm not gonna contribute to that story, but there's my mind trying to go in that direction, right? There's my mind, there's that thought trying to pull me into that story. It's trying to give me a pin. It wants me to sit down and contribute to it, right? It wants me to sit down and contribute to that story. So I can get a thought that says, "Oh, your life is so fucked up. You're look at you now. Look, this bad thing could happen, right?" Now I can become aware of that, which is what part of the two main keys is. There's that thought, so be it, right? I'm not going to contribute to that story. I can become aware of it, and I can go that route and get on with my day, even though it's very, very tempting. Very, very tempting to get involved. Or I can get the thought, "Oh, my life is so fucked up. This bad thing might happen." And then I can say, "Give me the pen, buddy. Let's go to town," right? And then I sit down and I'm writing that fucking Stephen King novel, blah, 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 in my head all day long, all day long. And then it comes time to get some sleep, and I wonder why I can't sleep. And then it comes time to get some sleep, and I wonder why my nerves feel like they've been ran through the fucking ringer all day, right? I wonder. I wonder. The thinking mind, all of this story that you're getting involved in, all of this story that you're contributing to, instead of calling it out, you're getting involved with it and you're contributing to it. You're the author here. You're putting in the most work. You can't point the fingers at the mind and say, "Oh, well, the mind won't slow down. It's the mind's fault." Are you taking a step back every single time you get a negative thought and saying, "Okay, there's that story. I accept it, right? But I'm not going to add to it"? Are you doing that? Because if you can't answer yes to that, you can't blame the mind. If you can't answer yes to that question, you cannot go blaming your mind. If you can't answer yes to that question, you got to look in the mirror, because there's somebody who's grabbing the pen every time the mind offers it and is sitting down and writing out a fucking novel, right? So you can't blame the mind. You can't point fingers at the mind and say, "Well, Wonder Bro, my mind just won't slow down. It's constantly blah, 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 blah," right? Unless you are putting in the work to take a step back every time you get a negative thought, and like I said, you don't have to be perfect, but unless you're trying to put in that work and practicing putting in that work of every time you get a negative thought, you're taking a step back and you're saying to yourself, "There's that negative thought. I'm not going to contribute to that story. There's that story," right? "There's that story. Thank you for coming," right? I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to argue, debate. Okay, I'm in acceptance of what is, but I'm not going to contribute to that story. I'm just going to be aware that that story is trying to pull me in, and I'm going to stay, just aware of that, but I'm not actually going to contribute to that story. What does that mean? To get up in your head and contribute, right? So the thing about it is, you cannot cannot blame outside circumstances. You cannot blame life. You cannot blame your mind. You cannot point fingers at anything for frying your nerves, okay? Except for yourself. And I know for some people that sounds a bit, oh man, I didn't ask for this, right? I didn't ask for this, Wonder Bro. How can you say that I only have myself to blame? I'm not saying you asked for it, and I'm not saying you knew any better, right? I understand. I didn't know any better either. That's why I'm here now, because I went through the ringer with the shit. But eventually, we got to wake up. Eventually, we got to wake up, and we got to ask ourselves the question. We got to look in the mirror, and we got to say, am I really taking responsibility here? Am I really, every time I get a negative intrusive thought or that same old story that's on fucking repeat day after day, am I really taking a step back each and every time and saying, you know what, there's that old story. It's tempting. I accept it, but I'm not going to contribute to that story. I'm not going to get up here and go blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to do any of that, right? Are you really doing that? How many people can say, are you really doing that? Right? Because if you can say that you're really doing that, then congrats, you're on the right track. You're no longer fighting with those thoughts, right? You're no longer getting involved and contributing to that story, even though I know it's very tempting, right? Then congrats, right? But if you're not doing that, I'm not here to shame you. I'm just here to tell you, let's get on board. Let's get on board, because every time one of these negative thoughts come, right, and they want you to take that pen and they want you to contribute to that story, and that means to get up there in your mind and start entertaining them, blah, 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 right? Then you're just in resistance. You're just fighting with those thoughts. You're just fueling those thoughts. But every time you become aware of that and you say, okay, there's that old story. It's playing up there. There's that story. It's playing, but I'm not contributing, right? I accept it. I'm not contributing. So every time you do that and you stop contributing to these bullshit stories, they become a little bit weaker and a little bit weaker. Now, you might have some ups and downs. They may not disappear immediately. Of course, you're still going to have some feelings, right? But every time you become aware of the mental story that's playing out and you're not contributing to it, which means to get involved with it up here, right? Then congrats. You are removing the fuel from the fire. Right? Now, that's not the most comfortable process in the world. That's not the most fun process in the world. But a fire cannot burn on indefinitely unless it's got some fuel. And the fact that you are becoming aware of the story, there's that story playing out in my head again, right? But I'm not contributing, which means I'm not getting up here and fighting and adding to and blah, 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 blah. Then congrats. A fire cannot burn indefinitely. It'll eventually burn out, right? Like I said, that's not the most fun process in the world. That's not the most comfortable process in the world, right? But a fire will eventually burn out if it does not have access to fuel. And the fuel here is you contributing by getting up here and entertaining it and fighting it, instead of just being aware of it and saying, there's that story playing. I'm just going to stay as the person who's aware of the story playing, but I'm not going to contribute. 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 If you contribute, it's just going to burn, right? Right? It's just going to burn. So somebody said, I have a hard time ignoring the symptoms. We're not trying to get you to ignore. We're trying to get you to not contribute. There's a difference. We don't want you to go around acting like, oh, I'm in Candyland and there's no symptoms and thoughts going on here. That's not what we're trying to get you to do. Right? We know that you're aware of your thoughts. We know that you're aware of your feelings. What we're trying to get you to do is not contribute, which means to not get up here, right, and start getting involved with the stories. We want you to keep an attitude of, there's that story playing, there's that feel, but I'm not contributing anything to it. I'm shushing up, right? I'm shushing up. I'm not contributing anything to what's going on. I'm just letting it be as it is without contributing. If I notice I start to contribute, I can pull myself back, right? And if I notice I got a story going on, I can not get involved. I can just stay as the awareness, right? So, again, not the most comfortable process in the world, not the easiest process in the world, right? But as you build on this, and as you become more aware, right, you can stop contributing to the story. You can stop contributing to the story. It's your contribution to all of these negative stories that are keeping everything alive, right? So you've got all these thoughts coming in. You've got all these feelings coming in. You can either write a Stephen King novel about them, right? Or you can stop contributing to any sort of story, right? So that would boil down to an is what it is attitude. Instead of contributing to the story, you're aware of the story. You're aware of the thoughts that come, you're aware of the feelings that come, but you're not picking up the pen and contributing to them, which means you're not necessarily entertaining them, you're not judging them or labeling. They're there, they are what they are. You're not entertaining them, which means you're not contributing to them, right? It's just there. So we're no longer contributing to any of the stories. We're no longer contributing any of the stories. We're noticing that when they're there, but we're not dragging them on. Okay, I just noticed I had that thought, but I'm not going to sit down and write a story about it. I'm not going to join in with it either. I'm just going to say, there's that thought, right? Thank you for that thought. I'm not in resistance to that thought, but I'm definitely not adding to it, right? I'm definitely not adding to it. Okay? So, this is not a perfect formula that you have to perfect. This is not something, oh, I need all the answers. The only answer is that we're trying to eliminate second fear, which means when these thoughts are there, so be it. When these feelings are there, so be it. But we're not adding to it. So if I get a negative thought, pops up, causes me some anxiety, I say, okay, there's that old story. There's that story right there. But I leave it there. I don't drag it on. I don't entertain it. I don't drag it on. I don't entertain it. I don't follow it down the rabbit hole. Right? That's what we do. We see the thought. I'll get to that in just a second. We see the thought and we say, okay, there's that thought. Right? But I'm not adding to it. Okay, we see the thought. There's that thought, but I'm not going to follow it, which means I'm not going to get involved with it. I just say, thank you, come again. Right? But I leave it right there. I leave it right there. I don't get involved in the mental story. I don't get involved in the mental story. Now, what does it look like? And I'm going to wrap this up real quick. What does it look like when you get a thought and you add to the mental story? I'm going to give you an example. So I get a thought, my brain is broken. And then I get up in my head and I say, well, maybe it is broken. I've been going through this for so long, or I wonder if it's possible to have a broken brain, or maybe if I get through this and blah, 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 then my brain won't be broken. Maybe I could salvage my brain. I don't know if I can salvage my brain. It's been so long. It's been almost 30 years. I don't know if I can salvage my brain. And you know what? Maybe my brain's not broken. I don't think it's broken. Is it possible to have a broken brain? I think a broken brain is possible, but then again, maybe a broken brain's not possible. Maybe I should get on Google and look at the statistics of how many people have broken brains. What even is a broken brain? I don't know, man. This anxiety, dude. That's what it looks like to get involved in these stupid fucking stories. And the more you do that, the more you might as well take a club to your nerves, right? The more you might as well take a club to your nerves. Because you're getting involved, you're fueling the fire, and you're running in a hamster wheel. Now, what does it look like to not get involved in the mental story? Okay, I get a thought that says maybe I have a broken brain. Oh, okay. There's that thought. All right, I'm going to get back to picking my nose. Man, that's tempting. I really want to get involved with that thought and dive a little bit deeper with that, but I'm not going to because I know that I'm not going to get involved in any of these stupid mental stories, whatever. There's that thought. Okay, thanks for coming. Right? Now, okay, you can make that a lot shorter. I'm just giving you some examples. You could say, okay, there's that thought. Thanks for coming. I'm not going to follow that one. I'm not going to get involved with that one. Thanks for coming, though. I appreciate it. Whatever you say, bud. Right? So, do you see the difference? One way we go, we're writing a fucking novel. And then we wonder why our nerves are beat to death. And the other way we go, we're just acknowledging what is, but we're not adding to. We're just acknowledging what is, but we're not adding to. Right? So, that was the point of today's stream. I hope somebody takes something from it. I hope you drop these mental stories instead of getting involved with these mental stories, right? And I know it's very tempting to get involved with these mental stories, but you can do it. FBK with a $30 tips, dude says, thanks for keeping me accepting all the time. Thanks for being here, FBK. I appreciate you, man. Thank you for that tip. Let's get that added, dude. Thank you, thank you. $30 tip, man. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, FBK. All right, guys, I'm going to stand up just to get me something to drink real quick. Let's see here. Let's see here. All right, whatever comments come, I'll get to them in just a second. Oh, man, I can never find the right one. I can never find... Okay, there we go. There we go. I've got it. Okay, bada bing. There we go. All right. Pootie says, check your PayPal. I will do that right now. Let's see. Pootie man, Pootie coming in with the. I'm assuming that's going to be a $20 tip, but where we're like so far away from each other, PayPal always takes a bunch of fees. We're going to count it as a $20 tip. Pootie, thank you so much for the $20 tip, dude. That takes us to tip goal, man. Thank you guys so much. That puts us at a 10-day streak. I appreciate it, guys. Wow, that's insane. 10-day streak. We might do. We might get going with some ideas on what we can do to celebrate every 10 days. That's something we talked about the other day. Might do a community hangout. I will announce that in the Discord if that is the route that we decide to go. Thank you so much, Pootie. Shout out to Pootie and FBK, man. I appreciate it, guys. Thank you, thank you. Really does help me out a ton. So, with that being said, with our tip goal wretch puts us on a 10-day streak, man. It is a good day. Who here has any questions about this story? This story that we're talking about, right? Who here has any questions about dropping the mental story? Who here has any questions about this? Let's talk about it. If you guys have questions, feel free to ask the questions. Do you understand what it means to become aware of when these stories want to draw you in, right? Do you understand what it means to become aware of these mental stories when they want to draw you in? They're usually the same repetitive thoughts on repeat, aren't they not? Aren't they not? Can you guys agree to that? They're usually the same mental stories day after day on repeat. So, who here, okay, is confused? Is anybody confused? When we have these mental stories come in, right? When we have these mental stories, they want to pull us in, they want us to sit down, they want us to fight with them, they want us to entertain them, they want us to grab the pen and write a novel, which is what we've been doing for most of our lives, right? But we need to just become aware. There's that mental story trying to pull me in about this bad thing happening, or might happen, or is happening, or could happen, or there's that mental story trying to get me involved, right? It's there, and it's very tempting to sit down and get involved because that's what I've been doing my whole life. But instead, I'm just staying as the person who's aware that the temptation is there, that the mental story about my thoughts, feelings, life is always negative, rooted in fear. There it is. It's not comfortable, the fact that it's even there, but I'm not sitting down and contributing. I'm not sitting down and contributing, right? So, with acceptance, when we say live your life and don't fight with your thoughts and feelings, that's what we mean. We mean live your life, do what you want to do, right? Get going, live your life, do what you want to do. And while you're doing this, we don't want to contribute to any sort of mental stories, any sort of negative mental stories. We don't even want to try to fight them with positivity, right? It's good to be a positive person about the real world, but these mental stories, we don't want to treat them as relevant at all, right? We don't want to get involved with the mental story. We just want to be aware that it's there. There it is, playing like a broken record, right? That's what it tends to do. But I'm not going to sit down and get involved with it. I'm just going to accept it. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming, right? But I'm not sitting down and trying to do anything with it. I'm just aware that it's there, and that's enough, right? And that's enough. So that's the practice, because when you get involved with the mental story, then you're adding all that nasty second fear, right? You're right. You're right. So you don't want to dwell too much. What is dwelling? Dwelling is like obsession. What is obsession? Getting involved with mental stories about the way that you feel, your thoughts, etc., which does nothing but keep you in a hamster wheel of stress, right? So, you know, as time goes on and as you practice not getting involved with this mental story, aka adding all this second fear, you're just aware that that mental story is wanting to drag you in. Okay, but you're not going. You're not contributing. There's that story. Okay, so be it. There's these feelings, so be it. As you practice not getting involved in the mental story, which basically just is just basically a fancy way of saying not adding second fear to get involved with the mental story, right? As you practice this, it'll become more natural. You're just now starting out. I think you said you just found the channel a day or two ago, a couple days ago, something like that. This will become more natural for you as you practice it, right? This will become more natural for you as you practice it. Thoughts are coming, but now it's also clear in my mind. I know I created them by Google. Yes, now I even laugh and my acceptance coming automatically. There you go. You're becoming aware of the mental stories. You're becoming aware that it's just old programs on repeat, and you're not contributing to them. You're not entertaining them. You're just aware of them, and you're using acceptance, right? Instead of contributing. Do you think anxiety is based also on what you wish could, should have been, with horrible life events and now can't be changed? Yes, I believe a lot of anxiety, pretty much all of anxiety, comes from this second fear, comes from this involvement in the mental stories, which is just old programs on repeat, negative programs like a broken record, right? And the more you entertain them, the more your nerves think, oh my goodness, there's something bad going on, when actually there's nothing bad going on, but your nerves don't know the difference. So when you entertain these old mental negative stories, you start to feel pretty shitty. So I think, yes, even when we're talking about the past, whatever. Now, that's not to say to be in denial of anything, right? If you've got something harsh going on in your life, something bad going on in your life, if you've had something bad happen to you, we're not telling you to deny it. Oh, that never happened, right? We're just telling you not to entertain the mental stories about it. Just accept the way that those stories are making you feel, but don't join the story. So that means you get a thought and you just become aware. There's that story. I'm not going to join it. It is what it is. I'm not going to add to it. And then you accept the way that it makes you feel. This is true healing. Now you're allowing yourself to feel without adding to. Now you're allowing yourself to feel, and you're allowing the stories to burn themselves up without adding to, right? That's the thing. So, just like Asen said in the chat, you have these moments, and then some old stories start playing. And I can almost guarantee that when the old story started playing, you entertained the old story instead of just saying to yourself, there's that old story, right? So let's get you back on board and let's get you doing what you need to do. Say, there's that old story. Thanks for coming. Instead of sitting down with it and entertaining it until the day's over, right? So we accept the thoughts, we accept the feelings, but we're not contributing to anything. We're just allowing things to be as it is. We're not contributing. We're understanding there's the old story trying to talk me into this and talk me into that, but I'm not contributing anymore. I'm just becoming aware of the story. I'm becoming aware of how the story makes me feel, but I'm not contributing to the story. Does everyone see how that shuts down second fear, right? And like I said, that's not a comfortable process. That's not a fun process. But that's what it means to slowly take away the power and energy from these thoughts, right? And from these old habitual stories. To become aware of them but not contribute to them, right? So, you get these old stories, man, and they're on repeat. And you jump right back up there with them and contribute to them and entertain them instead of just accepting them and not entertaining them, not adding all that second fear, right? And then this is the cycle. This is the loop. So, you know, we get up there, we get these old habitual stories, and we entertain. We contribute. We pump them up. We fuel them up. We energize them instead of just saying, there's that story and just letting it play, but not contributing, right? Life in general, if you don't contribute, because right now my mind is just constantly looping what I can't do and stuff. I have no idea what else. These stories, these are all just stories that are popping up in your mind. You have a choice: contribute to them or not contribute to them. Contribute to them, or just say, hey, there's that story. Contribute to them, or just say, hey, my mind's giving me all these stories. Just a story, right? Thanks for coming. So you can contribute or you cannot contribute. If you contribute to something and you give something a bunch of energy, what do you think happens? If we put gas in the car, what does the car do? It goes boom boom, right? If we stop putting gas in the car, it might have a half tank of gas, but eventually it's going to come to a stop. It's going to run out. It's going to run out, isn't it? So if we've got a car with half a tank of gas and we keep adding gas to it, What's it gonna do? Well, it'll get you. It'll take you all sorts of places, won't it? Right? But if we've got a car with a half tank of gas and we stop adding gas to it, yeah, it might go on for a bit. It might take us a few places, right? But eventually, it's gonna, right? It's gonna run out of gas. It's gonna run out of gas. So, you have two choices when it comes to these thoughts. You can keep giving them gas, right? You can keep giving this old story more gas, or every time you get these feelings and every time you get these thoughts, you can be like, there's that old story. It's running again, right? But I'm not contributing. Eventually, that shit's going to run out of gas, isn't it? Eventually, that shit's going to run out of gas. It's going to run out of gas. So, you know, it's very simple in that way. What we fuel tends to run, right? But you got to put in the effort now. Here comes the fun part. You got to put in the effort of noticing when you're fueling the story. Am I fueling the story? Am I entertaining it, contributing to it, fighting with it, arguing with it? If I do anything with it, it's called, contributing. So, do I want to contribute this story, or do I want to take as many steps back as I need and give myself as many reminders as I need? Hey, there's that old story. There's that old story. There it is. There's that story about how, oh, I'm going to go crazy from these feelings. There's that story about how if I don't do this, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. There's that story about how, it's all rooted in this bullshit fear. So you become aware. There's that old story. There it is, right? Instead of there's that old story. Hey, someone pass me a pen. Let me sit down and write a fucking novel about this, right? Let me get involved with this thing until the end of the day, right? So you can see the difference there. You can see the difference. In one way, you're adding so much fuel to the fire that the fire's burning hot. And in the other way, okay, you're not adding any fuel, and eventually the fire will burn out. You're not looking over your shoulder, but you know that you're not adding fuel, so eventually that fire can't survive. Right? Do you see what we're getting at here? So you can stay as the accepting awareness, right? There's that fire, there's that story, but I'm not contributing. Eventually, it'll go to something else, right? And you practice this each day. But do you see how one way you're adding second fear, and the other way you're just letting the fire burn out? And like I said, that's not necessarily a fun process. It's not necessarily a comfortable process, but it sure as shit beats the hell out of adding fuel to the fire, doesn't it? Right? It sure as shit beats the hell out of adding fuel to the fire. Yeah, just check yourself. Nobody's perfect. I'm not telling you guys, oh, you got to have a perfect track record here. You can never make any mistakes if you want to heal. That's just not true, right? You can make mistakes, but you need to check yourself. Am I contributing to the story, or am I just aware of the story? What does it mean to be just aware of the story? It means to call it out. There's that story. Thanks for coming, right? And it might stay there. It might be on a cycle. That's fine. You're still just staying as, okay, I'm aware of the story that I normally tell myself about my feelings. Okay, I'm aware of the story that my mind is going to about this. I'm aware of the story that my mind is going to about that. But I'm not contributing to it anymore. I'm just aware that it's happening, but I'm not getting up there and contributing. Eventually that story is going to get old, right? Right? Eventually that story is going to get old. Now the story for a lot of people is automatic. So someone said all physical sensations that trigger crazy thoughts, right? Right. So you have physical sensations that you've been telling a story about for a long time. Oh, this might make me go crazy, or I'll never get my life back. All these stories. So those stories become habitual. They become automatic, right? So, you know, you have a choice now. You can become aware of the stories. Oh, there's my mind trying to pull me into that story, to that crazy second fear story, right? But I just accept that story. Thanks, but I'm not contributing, right? So you're becoming awareness of the story instead of contributing to the story. And there's a million different ways that the mind can take you. But if you contribute to the story, then the story gets gassed, right? Getting a haircut, riding a car while in a meeting, and so on and so on, because of the stories, right? So you have certain stories that you've probably entertained in the past. Oh, when I'm getting a haircut, I feel trapped, right? That's a big one. So there's a story. Now, next time you go get a haircut, you might go the same way. You might go the same way. Oh, I'm getting a haircut, I feel trapped. Okay, wait a minute. I'm aware that story is trying to pull me in. There's that story. Okay, I accept that story, but I'm not contributing. See how it works? So, these stories, all these stories, it's so much suffering. And with acceptance, when I say don't fight with your thoughts and feelings, I used to say don't follow your thoughts, right? Either way works, whatever you guys like best. But when we say all these things, all we mean is these thoughts come, these feelings come. You can either get involved in the negative story, or you can just be aware of the story, right? Which do you choose? Which are you going to practice from here on out, right? That's the question. You want to break out of the cycle? You want to break out of the cycle? So somebody says, I have physical symptoms, and then they trigger a story about how I won't get my life back, about how this means I'm going crazy, I might die, right? Some physical symptoms trigger a story, an old story that you've entertained for a long time, an old story of second fear. Do you contribute to that story, or do you take a step back time and time again and say, oh, there's that story, right? What do? You know what needs to be done. You can contribute to the story, but now you're just running around a hamster wheel, and you have been for a long time. A very stressful one at that, right? So you can become aware of the story, and eventually that story will lose gas, or you can contribute to the story, right? Which one do you choose to do? which which one do you choose to do? Become aware of the story that your mind is trying to tell you about your thoughts and feelings, or contribute to the story, right? Which one do you choose to do, chat? Which one do you choose to do? Because of the fear of being trapped. So common, isn't it? And you're right, Pootie. You're right. Congrats for staying on board, dude. I'm glad you're still with us, Slow Jam. It's so common, isn't it? Fear of being trapped. It's just another story, right? It's just another story. So become aware of the story, right? Become aware of the story instead of contributing to the story. That's a good. You know what? I should change the title of this stream. That's better. Become aware of the mental stories instead of contributing to them. There we go. Ooh, that sounds a lot better than what we had originally. Become aware of the mental stories instead of contributing to them. I was going to leave it as drop the mental stories, but I don't want anyone thinking, oh, well, there's something they need to fight against, right? Fight should not be in our vocabulary here. So I'm going to change it to become aware of the mental story. In my short, I said stop adding to the mental story, which sounds even better. So become aware of the mental story. There's the old mental story about these feelings. There's the old mental story about these thoughts. There's the old mental story about these life events or these what ifs. There's the old, there's the mental story. I can contribute to it or just be aware that it's there, right? Right? And that's what it means to not follow a thought, what we used to call it here on the channel. That's what it means to not contribute, right? What's up, Sam? Says, hello, just found you, loving your videos. I'm glad you're enjoying them, Sam. I hope this stream helps you out. She speaks broken English. I'm wondering what the hell I'm listening to. Your boss? Yeah, she's probably like, who's this guy? I'm choosing no fuel to the fire. Congrats. Best choice. Best choice you'll ever make in your life. So glad I found this. I have thought so many days I was dying, and yes, that story has been going on a long time now, right? Right. So what happens is, if you want to break out of that story, the story's not just going to end the moment you decide not to contribute. It might take some time. What did we call it earlier? We said you got a car with a half tank of gas. Now you have chosen to stop fueling it, so that car is still going to go for a little bit, right? But you're becoming aware of the story. You're no longer fueling it, so eventually it's going to stop. But I just want you to be aware that it might roll on for a little bit. It's got a half tank of gas still yet, right? These are old habits, right? They're old habits. Old habits, tend to die hard. So I want you to be aware that that car might roll on for a little bit. It might roll on for a little bit, but you've stopped adding fuel. Eventually it's gonna die out, right? So become aware of the story. Become aware of the story instead of contributing. You're right, you do have a story that you've contributed to for a long time, and that's why it's so strong. Because you've contributed to it for a long time, right? It's very familiar to your brain at this point. It's very familiar to your brain at this point. So now that you've chosen to become aware of it when it's happening, it's very tempting to get involved. I want you to be aware of that too. It's going to be very tempting for you to get involved. But just keep reminding yourself, okay, I'm just aware of the story. I'm just aware of the story, right? And the more you do this instead of contributing, eventually that car is going to run out of gas, right? I pictured me going to the place and how it's going to go. I also know the symptoms I'm going to get because it's happened before is that second fear. So that's the story, right? That's the story. Now you can either add to that story by entertaining it and contributing to it and fighting it and judging it and arguing with it and debating it, or you can say, okay, my mind just tossed me a random thought about what might happen when I get to this place, right? Okay, well, that's a story. There's that story. I'm just going to go back to living my life, right? And I'm going to rinse and repeat that. So I'm in acceptance of these thoughts, but I'm not contributing to them. I'm in acceptance of these thoughts, but I'm not contributing to them, right? So I hope that kind of clears that up for you. I need to put this channel a notification because I always take something away from these videos. Thank you. Yes, turn on that notification bell, guys. If you want to try to catch us live, I know the notification bell is not always the best, but if you want to have a better shot at getting in here live, make sure you turn on that notification bell. I'm curious, what would you advise for someone that has heavy derealization right now and driving? How do you accept the feelings but also keep safe? So, like I always tell people, that's a sticky question. I can't tell somebody that they should drive their car if they don't feel safe doing so. That would be very irresponsible of me and could get me in a lot of trouble, so I'm not going to do that. However, what I will say is, when you get these symptoms, you can entertain horror stories about them like we've been talking in this stream, or you cannot entertain those stories. You can become aware of the story and stop contributing to the story. So obviously, I hope you understand why, for several reasons, I can't tell someone, hey, if you don't feel safe driving your car, man, fuck it, accept it, just drive your car. And then they get into an accident or something, it's my ass, right? Now, the likelihood of that happening is slim to fucking none, but obviously, to cover my own ass, I can't tell you to do that. So take what you will from that. Um, but the story, man, it's all about these stories, whether you entertain these stories or not. Whether you entertain these stories or not, right? So these stories come, they're stories that we've told ourselves for a long time in the past. Do you continue to entertain these second fear stories, or you just say, hey, there's that old story, right? And just play it out with acceptance. So that's what I can tell you. Thanks for explaining so well. I try to keep it simple and I try to keep it straightforward, right? I feel like that's the best way to go about this thing. Oh yeah, you're right, Cassie. You're right there. You got me there. But keep in mind, Sam, even though I can't responsibly tell someone, hey, if you don't feel safe driving your car, go drive your car. Even though I can't say that, that wouldn't be very responsible of me to say. I can say, the likelihood of something like that happening is slim to none. I can say that, and I can say be aware of the stories that you're entertaining. So I know that's not a very satisfying answer, but you kind of understand why I have to, why I can't tell someone, hey, go drive a car if you don't feel safe driving a car. It's not something I can do. What's up, Tony? Welcome to the stream, dude. Welcome, welcome. Hope you're having a good day, my man. It's been a good one today. It's been a good one. We're trying to put second fear in a different light. We're trying to give people a different perspective here on what second fear is. And we're doing that by comparing second fear to old stories that you tell yourself. Burpee. We're doing that by comparing second fear to old stories that you tell yourself. So basically just trying to shine a new light on what it means to add second fear or to entertain second fear. It becomes like a habit. So you got these old stories that are running in your head, right? You got these old stories that are running in your head. You can say, oh, I'm aware of the story, or you can sit down and contribute to the story, right? And when you do that, you get all worked up. You get all worked up. How long have you been on? You're not going to be happy to hear this truth. I know that your notifications always send you my way a little late, but I've been on for almost an hour. I'm sorry. I don't know why your notifications are so late. I hope I never bother you with my questions. Absolutely not, dude. I promise I'm practicing not giving up as repetitive as the answers are. I learn new things every day, habits that I had no idea were affecting me. Thank you. No, I want people to ask questions because I know that when it comes to second fear, which are this, like we've been calling today, these old negative stories that you entertain, right? Instead of just being aware and saying, there's that thought, there's that old story, right? There's that old story, or maybe it's not an old story. Maybe it's a new negative intrusive thought. Well, there's that new story that wants to drag me in. It's all just stories in your head, whether it's old stories or new stories. You can just look at it like a story. Now, you can sit down and entertain the story and keep it and keep writing on it, or you can just say, "Hey, there's that story. I'm not going to get involved." That's exactly what we used to mean when we said don't follow thoughts, and it's still what we mean today when we say don't fight with thoughts. It's all the same thing. So I understand that it's kind of repetitive, some of the questions I get, but I also understand that you're trying to build a new habit, so don't worry about it. I get it. I get it. And if I can get on here and clear things up for you by putting it a million different ways, then so be it. My goodness, that's what I'll do. Right? Right? And I do try to put it a million different ways. So, some days I might say don't fight with your thoughts. Some days I might say don't follow those thoughts. Some days I might say don't add to the story. Some days I might say just be aware of the story. I can put it a million different ways. And the reason I do that is not because the advice is changing. It's never changed. It's always been the same. The reason I do that is to try to give you a new perspective. Maybe one perspective makes more sense to some people than another perspective, right? And that's why I try to use so many different perspectives, because different words mean different things to different people. The advice is always the same, but it's worded a million different ways to try to speak to everybody. Does that make sense? We're just trying to speak to everybody. So the advice stays the same, but the wording changes because I'm trying to make it click for everybody. Hey, you got to be aware of when your thoughts sending you these old stories and stop contributing to them. Just stay as the awareness, and eventually it'll burn out, right? So, I mean, that's all it is at the end of the day, dude. It's the same old advice, time after time. Don't fight with your thoughts, don't follow your thoughts, don't add to the story, blah, blah, blah. It's the same old crap time and time again, but we want it to speak to everybody. We want everybody to be like, oh, okay, I get it, right? So that's why, the advice never changes, but the wording does. That's why. That's why. That's why, man. Because different words mean different things to different folks, right? That's all it comes down to at the end of the day, man. To the guy down the street, when I say don't add to the mental story, he might be like, oh, I get it. I've got all these old stories that pop up when I have these feelings of anxiety. I get all these horror stories that pop up when I have these thoughts. I get all these stories, man. I get it now. It's just a bunch of stories that come and pop into my head, and I can feed them or I can not feed them. I get it now. Okay, and to the other guy down the street, he might say, "What the fuck does he mean by stories, man?" But then I might say, "Well, don't follow those thoughts when they come." And then he might say, "Oh, okay, I get it now. I get a thought, and I can either follow it or not follow it." Okay, you see what I'm saying? So that's why we try to mix it up so much. That's why we try to mix it up so much. Hey, that's great, Truth. That is awesome. Truth said, I had scary thoughts today about my upcoming appointment, but I did not feed it. I refused to go into second fear. So we just used that example. That's awesome. Not feeding it. That's another way that some people might go, oh, I get it. I get a scary, intrusive thought about an upcoming life event. I can either feed it or not feed it. Right? And it's tempting. It's very tempting to feed it, but I'm refusing to feed it. I just accept it instead. I refuse to fight with it or feed it. So you see what we're saying? You're not denying these thoughts. You're not saying, "Oh God, there's that thought. Please don't think that. Please don't think that." That's not what you're doing. That would be a fight. What you're doing is saying, "Oh, there's that thought. Now I can either feed it or not feed it. I refuse to feed that mother, you know, I would have dropped the F-bomb there, but I think I don't know, you can only drop so many F-bombs in YouTube videos before they get mad about it. So we'll try not to drop any more today. I don't know how that works. There's like if you use strong profanity, you're supposed to try not to use too much of it or some crap like that. I don't know how it works, but I'll try to cut out any remaining f bombs for the day. We've reached our f bomb limit. We should honestly we should have an f bomb counter on the screen. Breathe. Oh yeah, and the reason you say it was hard to do that, truth, is because you're not used to it yet. It's not habit yet. The reason you say it was hard to do that is because it's very tempting, isn't it? It's very tempting to start getting involved with the stories. Isn't it the most tempting thing that you've ever had to resist the urge to do? Right? And we don't use the word resist often here on the channel. We don't like the word resist, but that's one thing we want you to resist is getting involved with adding second fear to these thoughts and feelings and feeding it. Right? Right? So that's one thing. Like I said, we don't use the word resist often here on the channel, but that is one thing we want you to resist is that habit of getting involved and feeding these thoughts. That is one thing we want you to resist. Instead, we just want you to accept the thought. There's that thought, but I'm not going to feed it. Right? Thank you. Come again. You can come all that you want. You can say thank you to the thought all that you want. You can even tell it to come again. Right? As long as you're not feeding it. Right? Most people on planet Earth have truth, so understandable. Hey, you got this, Pony. You got this. Don't add to those negative, intrusive thoughts. Don't add to it. Don't feed it. As Truth said in the chat, don't feed it. Just accept it. Don't feed it. Accept it. Don't feed it. Accept it. Don't feed it, right? The, probably what is happening, Sam, is you're feeding into the negative intrusive thoughts. These thoughts come, maybe you're out doing some exposure work and you get feelings of anxiety and panic, and then these thoughts come, right? Then these thoughts come that say, oh, well, you can't, you better get away from here. Something bad's going to, I don't know what your thoughts are. But chances are the reason it can feel like that is because we're still in a bad habit of entertaining second fear. We're still in a bad habit of feeding these thoughts, right? And that's a surefire way to work yourself up, right? And that's why it can feel like it can come and go and blah blah blah. Now you're going to be uncomfortable regardless there for a while until you know start to heal. You're going to be uncomfortable from time to time. You're going to have these thoughts, you're going to have these feelings, but while you're putting in this work, Sam, I would also highly recommend that not only are you accepting the feelings, but you're also accepting the thoughts. And when you accept a thought, that means to not entertain it or fight with it or feed it, right? So while you're practicing accepting these feelings, we also need you to do the same with the thoughts and not feed them, right? Keep that in mind. So it's great that you're practicing accepting the feelings, but we also need you to not feed these thoughts. We need you to accept these thoughts like you accept the feelings without feeding them, right? So keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. That's why, you know, the two main keys: live your life, accept the thoughts and feelings, don't fight with the thoughts and feelings, don't feed the thoughts, right? We always throw the word thoughts in there because that's important too. We want you to accept the feelings. And when you accept a feeling, that means you're not telling yourself horror stories about it, right? You're not running away from it. But we also need you to do the same with the thoughts. If you want to go this route, you need to do the same with the thoughts. Don't feed them, accept them, right? Do you believe in getting enough sunlight can help you? I think it's icing on the cake. When we talk about getting enough sun and being healthy and exercising, all of this stuff is icing on the cake. But if you're not practicing the fundamentals, which is no longer feeding these stories in the head and accepting the feelings, if you're not practicing those fundamentals and there's still a lot of second fear, well, we need you to practice the fundamentals more than anything, right? Everything else is just kind of like icing on the cake, right? Does that make sense? We need you to practice the fundamentals, which is stop adding second fear, which means stop getting involved in the stories. Stop feeding the stories, right? and just allow yourself to feel and allow these thoughts and feelings to come without getting involved in the story. Just be aware of the story, but don't feed the story. Right? So we need you to do the fundamentals if you're going to go this route. And then we can start, we can add icing on the cake if we want to, but we really need to get those fundamentals down. We really need to get those fundamentals down of not feeding the stories, just being aware of the story, accepting the story, but not feeding it. And if you need to give yourself plenty of reminders to do that, so be it. But we really, really need you to work on the fundamentals, and then we can talk about icing on the cake, right? So, what are the two main keys? What are the fundamentals? Get back into living your life. Live your life. Do what you want to do, even if that's something as simple as watching your favorite comedy, right? Get back into your life. Anything is better than laying on the couch obsessing about anxiety. So, two main keys: live your life, stop fighting with the thoughts and feelings, right? Wins the streak of it. We were just talking about that. As soon as we figure out exactly what we want to do, I'm leaning towards like a community hangout and voice chat on the Discord. That's the kind of idea that I've been tossing around. But that'll be announced in the Discord. That'll be announced whatever we decide to do. Maybe we'll do a vote on it or something. I don't know. I want you guys to be a part of the process on deciding what we do for every 10-day streak. It's something that I kind of decided that I wanted to do just as like a thank you to you guys. And I want you guys to be a part of the process of choosing what it is that we do. So I don't know, maybe we'll have a vote on it or something, but I'm kind of leaning towards a community hangout for a little bit in the Discord voice chat. That's what I'm leaning towards. And if you're in the Discord, you can expect to get some notifications. Oh, you can feel it, Tony. You can feel it. You can feel yourself slowly starting to transition. Don't obsess too much about anything, but you can feel it. We got a lot of people going to the dentist today. Oh, you want to join us over on the Discord? Nice. Let me drop that Discord link. Let me drop that Discord link. Right there. There you go, guys. It's in chat if you want to join us over on the Discord. Hey, the same thing applies about the insomnia and the sleep. So when you've got this story that pops up in your mind, oh, you might not sleep well tonight. Oh, that you not sleeping is going to mess everything all up. That's a story. Do you want to feed that or not? Right? There you go. You see how sneaky it is. It's sneaky. It's a sneaky bastard. You got to be aware of it. We want to accept these thoughts. We're not in denial of them. We're not saying, oh God, don't think that. We're saying, okay, there's that story. I see that story. I accept it. But I see the story. I'm not feeding it. You see? You see the difference there between denial and not feeding? Right? Anyway, guys, there's that Discord link on screen if you want to join us. The Discord chat is awesome. I know there's a lot of new people in the chat here recently. Let me briefly explain what the Discord is. So, the Discord is basically a chat app, right? And if you swipe, most people are using a phone. If you swipe right, I believe, here I am, I might be giving wrong instructions. If you swipe right, you'll find a list of all the available channels we have on the Discord. It's basically just channels where you can talk about all sorts of things. We've got sports, we've got we've got movie chat, we've got game chat. It's a big community of people from this channel. It's basically a big chat room that's rooted in acceptance. It's rooted in no second fear. It's not like your typical anxiety forum because fuck anxiety forums, right? Um, this chat is rooted in acceptance. You can get on there. There is a support chat, right? But there's also all sorts of other things you can do on there. There's gaming and movies and music and selfies and pet pics and tattoos, and there's all sorts of channels where you can make friends for people from this community. So it's basically a fancy chat room with a lot going on. And it's just an awesome community. It's one way for the community to come together and chat to one another. So it's really cool. It's really cool. There's voice chat over there, but a lot of people don't use the voice chat. They just use the messaging. Trying to think what else I can possibly say about the Discord. Not much, other than it's just awesome. It's a cool place to be. It's a cool place to be. You got to get the trusted member role so that you can post pictures. We do that to cut down, we don't have trolls over there, and that's probably why. You got to get the trusted member role so that you can post pictures, but you've been here for a long time, right? You've been here for a long time, so I would give you that trusted member role if you join us over there. Um, yeah, we've got admins over there. We got mods over there that take care of trolls and stuff like that. But we don't really have trolls because there's a lot, there's a few hoops you got to jump through in order to join the Discord. You got to verify your email. You got to do a few things to even get in. Which is not worth the time of a lot of trolls. And even if you get in as a troll, you can't post pictures or anything. You can just chat. You can't post pictures. You can't troll the chat with pictures. Um, and that's why I have the trusted member role set up so that people can't come in there and just post something they shouldn't be posting. So yeah, we don't really get trolls over on the Discord. I don't think we've ever had a single troll. Maybe one in the years that it's been up. That's about it, dude. So you don't have to worry about trolls. You do not have to worry about trolls over there. All right, guys. Here's what we're gonna do. We've still got a big handful of people. Also, before I say this, go check out the short I made today. If you guys want to see more shorts on the channel, you can find it under videos. Make sure you leave a like. All right, if you want to see more shorts like that. Okay, moving on. So here's what we're gonna do. We did hit our 10-day streak today. So every 10 days, I was kind of wanting to do something special for the chat, and I was leaning towards that community voice hangout, right? I was leaning toward. Wasn't there a troll who eventually became a follower? There was a troll on the channel, yeah, not on the Discord, but on the channel who eventually became a follower. It's because I treated them with kindness and I didn't feed into their story, right? And eventually they were like, oh, okay, I kind of like it here. So there you go. So what we're gonna do is we hit our 10-day streak, and every 10 days I was wanting to kind of thank you guys for hitting the streak by doing something special. So I want to head on over to the Discord for whoever wants to join. Let's do a little Discord voice hangout. I will announce it in the Discord, but let's go do that now. Why not? We hit our 10-day streak today. Let's not wait around. Let's go. Let's go do that now. I don't know how long we'll do it for. We'll go over there. We'll see what happens. But we'll join the voice chat over there. I'll make an announcement and let's do that. Who's down? Who's down? So I'm going to go ahead and in this particular stream here, I'll see you guys over on the Discord for whoever wants to join us in celebration of our 10-day streak. We'll all hang out in the voice chat for a little bit. And yeah, I hope to see you there. Assuming something doesn't go wrong, I will be over there. So I'll announce it to you guys. I love you guys. Stay awesome. Thank you so much for your love and your support. It's been a great stream. And just thank you for everything. Just thank you for everything. Seriously. Start noticing when those stories pop up.